power. If the Lord were not to make his presence invisible at the altar, he would make it impossible for us to receive him. So there are two miracles happening: the change and then the camouflage. There are the cases, exceptional but present in human history, when another one takes place and we have a visible flesh and blood. St. Thomas Aquinas goes into this and teaches that actually the Lord at that point, because of the change, is present, truly present, but that new miracle is yet a third. And what's happening there is the Lord is producing a series of accidents which hide the presence. Otherwise, there would be confusion with regard to what is going on. To understand what's going on, the Lord is, after the consecration, present, the substance is changed, but the accidents remain. But there is one accident called locus, the place, and that is in heaven. Now, it's kind of complex, but we have to understand it, because otherwise it would be difficult for us to see what's going on. Do you see the problem? In these Eucharistic miracles, it has to be an appearing of the earthly flesh and blood. But the flesh and blood of the Lord, henceforth glorified, is at the right hand of the Father. So theologically we say the Lord is present in the Blessed Sacrament sine loco, without his place. But it's really him. And he would ask us to defend him. For he has no protection but us. Just the other day, I was talking to a person who, some years ago, while enclosed in a monastery in Rome, was asked by the Mother Superior to come with her to do some legal work. A document had to be obtained. It meant going out of the enclosure. And the good mother said to her, "Look, there's Holy Mass starting in this church. Let's take advantage of this grace." And so they went in. Now, I know both these, the Superior and the young nun in question, and I know, and she actually testified to this, that she would never ever open her eyes at Holy Communion or do anything but adore her hidden guest, whom she loved intensely. But this particular day, when she had returned to her place with the Lord in her heart, something objective prodded her. "Look behind you." And it was so clear that she did what she would never even think of doing. She turned round quickly to see, and what was going on but the gentleman behind her was taking out the host from his mouth and putting it in his pocket. She, though she would never ever touch the host, even to this day, instinctively said in Italian, "Give it to me," and with insistence. He did so, and she consumed it immediately. I've heard other testimonies of the same kind. And also you may find yourself that you accidentally fall upon a large particle or even a complete host in church. Your duty then is to limit the damage of that as far as you possibly can. And usually, the least disrespectful is actually to consume it immediately, if there's no priest nearby. The change. Do we believe? Do we really believe what we're doing? I take you back to 1968, I think, when still an evangelical Protestant, anti-Catholic, I walked into a Catholic church on a Sunday morning to see what they were up to. And it was what we're doing now. Very similar, actually. Still facing the other way, still in Latin, incense, asperges, and a full choir. And a packed church in a suburban church in Cardiff. I sat for the whole consecration because I had to be faithful to what I believed or didn't believe. But there was something happening there which was stronger than my heart. I somehow knew there's something going on here which is not going on in our assembly or anything resembling it. Eventually, without telling anybody, I felt that I had to look into what was in that church, and I would go after school, when I could, from the bus into the nearby church, which actually was always open, and I would ponder, and I would feel, and I would sense there's something there. There's something between those 6 candles there. Eventually, it was some time later that I walked into another open Catholic church near our school in the break at dinner time. Again, I could sense it. I wanted to know, where is the truth? And I was asking sincerely. And this, by the way, you can do. Ask sincerely. Pray with your heart. That prayer is heard. Not the prayer of automatic pilot when we get to the end and do our duty. Remember this 2-liner of Shakespeare. It's from Hamlet, Act 3, Scene 3. The king. He's guilty, and he's trying somehow to pray. He says this: "My words fly up, my thoughts remain below." Words without thoughts never to heaven go. Remember that next time you whiz through the rosary. So, I was wanting knowledge and clarity, and something prodded me to go to the back of the church. In Britain, you'll always find a rack with pamphlets, CTS pamphlets. I just picked one which drew my attention because it was about a young boy of my age at the time, the schoolboy saint, Dominic Savio, who died at that early age. I think he had tuberculosis. I opened it, and what jumped out of the page was this. He had had an ecstasy. He had seen this which he communicated to his spiritual father, St. John Bosco. He saw England. He saw it as a great field, but covered in thick and dark mist. Then appeared the Holy Father, carrying a bright light, dispelling the thick fog and mist. Soon afterwards, the hierarchy was established in England and Wales. I got the message. I make a jump. Many years later, something similar happened. It was now 1995. A friend of mine had said, go to Sant'Antimo. I woke up after coming all that journey and went to church. And what happened? Exactly the same grace came back and knocked me between the eyes. The power of the centuries and of the hidden mystery, because it was facing the other way, it was entirely in Latin, and I knew this was home. And I also knew this: stay there and you'll meet Jesus on that altar where he's landed for many centuries, and after a break of 4 centuries has come back through this community which has reopened the monastery. I just finish. At the time, I was given a present from a friend, the friend who got me to that monastery, Dr. James Hogg. It was the cloud of unknowing. And I understood what the mist was. The cloud of incense is the Shekinah. That means the dwelling place of Yahweh. Heaven and earth meet, and at the words of consecration, the Son of God borrows the vocal cords of the priest, even in a whisper, and a miracle is truly taking place. Protect that miracle, and remember also what John Paul II taught as late as 1980 in an official document. He said this in all clarity: only the sacred hands of the consecrated minister may touch the sacred species. That, I say, was as late as 1980, and it came from Our Lady's dearest son, trying his best to protect from desecration the greatest treasure that man possesses on earth.
Lift up thine heart unto God with a meek stirring of love. From the cloud of unknowing. O God, upon the cloud I see thee not, and in the earth I hear not oft a sound of passing Trinity, and yet forgot was never yet a passage that I found upon a time where chimed the ages all at treading of soft feet. A meeting was upon a molecule, and globules small did twinkle in the midst that presence has. O ray of deeper dark, there was a place, and there is yet, where want can want no more. There is upon this ancient stone a space for two to lie, where, pranced here before, the pilgrims of this darkened land did stand, and for a moment held the Master's hand.